Don't look at their calorie counts. Look at what's sitting on their breakfast table every single morning. Japan has the longest life expectancy on the planet and an obesity rate nearly 10 times lower than the United States. And here's what's wild. They're not starving themselves. They're not running marathons. They're eating a specific combination of foods that quietly reprograms how their bodies store and burn fat at the cellular level. And the one food at the center of all of it? Most Westerners won't even touch it. Here's what most people believe about staying lean. Eat less, move more, count every calorie, and eventually you'll lose the weight. But after nearly 15 years practicing emergency medicine and studying metabolic disorders, I've observed something that completely contradicts that simplistic advice. The Japanese consume more carbohydrates per capita than most Western nations. They eat white rice at nearly every meal, and yet their rates of metabolic syndrome, visceral fat accumulation, and type 2 diabetes remain among the lowest on Earth. The difference isn't how much they eat, it's what they eat alongside those carbohydrates that changes everything. Hi, myself Dr. Leanna, and I'm an emergency medicine physician and metabolism researcher. And after years of watching patients in my own practice lose weight only to regain it within 12 months, I started looking beyond Western diet culture for answers. What I found in the peer-reviewed research on traditional Japanese dietary patterns wasn't just interesting, it was paradigm shifting. We've been so obsessed with restriction and deprivation that we've completely overlooked how certain foods actively instruct your fat cells to shrink, tell your gut bacteria to suppress appetite hormones, and switch on your body's internal fat-burning furnace. And the Japanese have been eating these foods for centuries. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the sticky, fermented superfood that Japanese people eat daily that has been shown in laboratory studies to literally shrink visceral fat cells and rebalance your gut microbiome within weeks. How a specific compound in green tea, consumed very differently in Japan than in the West, activates brown adipose tissue, your body's hidden fat-burning furnace, boosting calorie burn by up to 43%. The Japanese dietary framework called Ichiju Sansai that naturally controls portions without counting a single calorie. Why Japan's 4.5% obesity rate has almost nothing to do with genetics and everything to do with 5 specific foods you can start incorporating today. And the critical preparation mistakes that destroy these foods' fat-fighting properties before they ever reach your bloodstream. Quick favor before we dive in. I hear from viewers all the time who tell me they've watched 5 or 6 of my videos and only just realized they never hit subscribe. Could you take 2 seconds and check right now? It's completely free, and it helps this channel get real, evidence-based health information in front of more people who actually need it. Thank you. To understand why the Japanese stay so lean, you need to understand something most diet programs completely ignore: your gut microbiome. Think of your digestive system like a massive factory floor. You've got thousands of workers, bacteria, processing everything you eat. In a healthy, well-functioning factory, the workers are efficient. They extract nutrients, produce appetite-regulating hormones, and send clear signals to your brain that say, "We're full, stop eating." But here's the problem. In most Western guts, the factory is understaffed and chaotic. Years of processed foods, refined sugars, and low-fiber diets have killed off the skilled workers and replaced them with bacteria that actually make you hungrier, inflame your tissues, and instruct your body to store more fat, especially around your organs. This is visceral fat. You can't see it in the mirror, you can't pinch it, but it wraps itself around your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, and it pumps out inflammatory chemicals called cytokines that drive insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and even certain cancers. Now here's where Japan's secret weapon comes in. The traditional Japanese diet is arguably the most powerful gut microbiome optimizing diet on Earth. It's loaded with fermented foods, soluble fiber, marine omega-3s, and polyphenols that essentially restock that factory with the most efficient fat-fighting workers nature has ever produced. A massive global comparative study published in Nutrition Journal analyzed 132 countries and found that adherence to a traditional Japanese diet score was inversely correlated with obesity rates, even after controlling for GDP, lifestyle, and socioeconomic factors. The higher a country scored on eating like the Japanese, more fish, more soy, more seaweed, more vegetables, less red meat, less dairy, the lower its obesity rate. Not slightly lower, dramatically lower. So what are these specific foods, and how exactly do they reprogram your metabolism? Let me break it down. Mechanism 1, fermentation and gut microbiome remodeling. The cornerstone of the Japanese metabolic advantage is fermented foods, specifically natto, miso, and traditionally brewed soy products. These aren't just flavorful additions to meals. They're biological delivery systems. Natto, made from soybeans fermented with Bacillus subtilis, does something remarkable in your gut. It increases the ratio of Bacteroidetes to Firmicutes, two major bacterial families. Why does that matter? Because a higher Firmicutes to Bacteroidetes ratio has been consistently linked to obesity in humans. When you eat natto regularly, you're essentially tipping that ratio back in favor of the lean bacterial profile. A study in the Journal of Molecular Nutrition and Food Research found that natto intake significantly reduced visceral fat accumulation in a dose-dependent manner, meaning the more you ate, the more visceral fat disappeared. It also suppressed fatty acid synthesis in the liver and promoted fatty acid breakdown. The fermented version was substantially more potent than eating plain soybeans. Fermentation unlocked the fat-fighting properties. Think of it this way. Regular soybeans are like a locked toolbox. The nutrients are inside, but your body can barely access them because of anti-nutrients like trypsin inhibitors. Fermentation is the key that opens that toolbox, releasing bioavailable isoflavones, nattokinase enzymes, and probiotic bacteria that go to work immediately in your gut. Mechanism 2, brown fat activation through catechins. Here's where green tea enters the picture, but not in the way most Westerners drink it. In Japan, matcha is consumed as a fine powder, meaning you ingest the entire leaf, not just the brewed water. This delivers up to 137 times more of a compound called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, compared to a standard cup of steeped green tea. EGCG does something extraordinary. It activates brown adipose tissue, a special type of fat that functions like a built-in space heater. Unlike white fat, which stores energy, brown fat burns energy to generate heat through a process called thermogenesis. A systematic review in the journal Nutrients analyzed 10 experimental studies and confirmed that green tea catechins upregulate a protein called UCP1, uncoupling protein 1, which is the molecular switch that turns brown fat on. When UCP1 is activated, your brown fat begins burning white fat as fuel. Your body literally consumes its own stored fat to produce heat. Research from the University of Geneva demonstrated that green tea extract increased 24-hour energy expenditure by 4%. And this wasn't from the caffeine. When they tested caffeine alone at the same dose, there was zero effect on metabolic rate. It was specifically the catechin-caffeine combination working together that amplified noradrenaline signaling and kept the fat-burning switch flipped on. Mechanism 3, the fiber satiety pathway. The third mechanism is less glamorous, but equally powerful. The traditional Japanese diet is extraordinarily rich in seaweed, root vegetables, barley, and fermented plant foods that deliver both soluble and insoluble fiber at levels most Western diets can't touch. A study from the Fukuoka Diabetes Registry examining over 4,300 Japanese patients found that higher dietary fiber intake was significantly associated with lower BMI, lower fasting glucose, lower triglycerides, and lower inflammatory markers, even after adjusting for age, sex, and total calorie intake. Fiber feeds your beneficial gut bacteria, which produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. Butyrate does two critical things. It strengthens your intestinal barrier, preventing inflammatory molecules from leaking into your bloodstream, and it signals your brain through the gut-brain axis to reduce appetite. You feel genuinely satisfied on less food. Not deprived, satisfied. Let me share the specific studies that convinced me this wasn't just cultural folklore. Study 1. Researchers at the Jilin Academy of Agricultural Sciences fed obese rats natto powder for 8 weeks. The natto group showed significant reductions in body weight, balanced cholesterol metabolism by inhibiting liver X receptor pathways, and reshaped the gut microbiome, increasing bacteroidetes and decreasing firmicutes, measured by metagenomic analysis. Quantifiable biological changes. Study 2. Scientists using mouse models of diet-induced obesity found that Bacillus natto treatment for 8 weeks significantly reduced body weight, epididymal fat, perirenal fat, and liver weight. Serum triglycerides and total cholesterol both dropped. The bacteria suppressed fatty acid synthesis and promoted fatty acid catabolism. These weren't subjective improvements. They were measured in laboratory assays. Study 3. The University of Geneva's landmark thermogenesis study showed that green tea extract containing 90 milligrams of EGCG and 50 milligrams of caffeine produced a statistically significant 4% increase in 24-hour energy expenditure. The respiratory quotient dropped from 0.88 to 0.85, indicating a measurable shift from carbohydrate burning to fat burning. Caffeine alone at the same dose produced zero effect. Study 4. A global analysis of 132 nations found that the traditional Japanese diet score was inversely correlated to obesity rate, with statistical significance, p 0.001, even after controlling for GDP, education levels, healthcare spending, and smoking rates. Countries eating more like Japan were leaner, across every continent, every economy. This isn't speculation. This isn't anecdote. These are controlled, measured, reproducible findings. Here are the specific foods, exact amounts, and preparation methods you can start using today. Food 1. Natto. 50 grams daily, roughly 1 small traditional pack. Eat it at breakfast with rice. If the texture bothers you, mix it with a splash of soy sauce and mustard. That's exactly how it's eaten in Japan. The Bacillus subtilis bacteria survive stomach acid and reach your intestines alive, which is why natto outperforms most probiotic supplements. If you absolutely cannot find fresh natto, frozen natto from Asian grocery stores works equally well. The bacteria reactivate after thawing. Food 2. Matcha green tea. 1 to 2 teaspoons of ceremonial grade powder daily, which equals roughly 2 to 3 grams. Whisk it into water, heated to 175 degrees Fahrenheit, never boiling, as extreme heat destroys the delicate catechins. Drink it in the morning and early afternoon. Adding a squeeze of lemon increases EGCG absorption up to 6 times. Never add cow's milk. The casein proteins bind to catechins, reducing absorption by up to 80%. Plant-based milks are fine. Food 3. Miso soup. 1 bowl daily, made from unpasteurized miso paste. The key word is unpasteurized. Pasteurized miso has killed the beneficial bacteria. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of miso into warm, not boiling water, or dashi broth. Add seaweed, tofu, and scallions. This delivers both probiotics and prebiotic fiber in a single bowl. Food 4. Seaweed. 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame or kombu, 3 to 4 times per week. Seaweed contains a unique compound called fucoxanthin that has been shown in studies to specifically target visceral fat by increasing the expression of UCP1 in white adipose tissue, essentially turning white fat cells into brown-like fat-burning cells. Add it to soups, salads, or rice bowls. Food 5. Fatty fish. 3 servings weekly of salmon, mackerel, sardines, or any omega-3 rich seafood. Minimum 284 milligrams of omega-3 per serving. The omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, maintain brown fat activity and reduce systemic inflammation. Grill or bake, never deep fry, which destroys the omega-3s and adds inflammatory oils. Food 6, pickled vegetables, tsukemono. A small portion daily, roughly 30 to 50 grams. Traditional Japanese pickles fermented in rice bran, nukazuke, are loaded with lactobacillus bacteria that further diversify your gut microbiome. Look for naturally fermented varieties, not vinegar pickled versions which lack live cultures. Food 7, barley or mixed grain rice. Replace pure white rice with muji gohan, barley rice blend at least once daily. A cross-sectional study found that non-obese Japanese individuals who ate more barley had significantly higher populations of butyrate-producing bacteria in their guts. Use a 70-30 ratio of white rice to barley. After years of studying metabolic health, here are the insider principles that separate people who see results from those who don't. Tip 1. Timing synergy. Drink your matcha 30 minutes before your largest meal. The catechins prime your brown fat for activation right when your body needs to process the most incoming calories. This is when the thermogenic effect is most impactful. Tip 2. The Ichiju Sansai framework. Structure your meals the traditional Japanese way. 1 soup, 3 sides, plus rice. 1 bowl of miso soup. 1 serving of protein, fish, tofu, natto. 2 small vegetable sides. This naturally creates a plate that's high in fiber, moderate in protein, and portion controlled without measuring anything. Japanese people don't count calories. The structure does it for them. Tip 3. Fermented food stacking. Don't eat all your fermented foods at once. Spread natto at breakfast, miso at lunch, and pickled vegetables at dinner. This creates a continuous supply of beneficial bacteria throughout the day, rather than one overwhelming dose your gut can't fully utilize. Tip 4. The 12-hour overnight window. Most Japanese households eat dinner by 7 or 8 p.m. and breakfast by 7 a.m., a natural 11 to 12-hour fasting window. This isn't intentional intermittent fasting, it's just cultural timing. But it gives your body extended periods to burn stored fat overnight, while the beneficial bacteria from dinner do their repair work undisturbed. Tip 5. Hara Hachi Bu. This is the Okinawan principle of eating until you're 80% full. It takes roughly 20 minutes for your gut's satiety hormones to reach your brain. When you stop at 80%, by the time those signals arrive, you feel perfectly satisfied, not stuffed. This single habit reduces caloric intake by 15 to 20% without any feeling of deprivation. Let me save you from the errors I see most often. Mistake 1, inconsistency. The biggest mistake is trying these foods for a week, not seeing dramatic results, and quitting. Your gut microbiome takes 4 to 8 weeks to meaningfully restructure itself. Natto doesn't work after 1 serving. Matcha doesn't rewire your brown fat overnight. The Japanese aren't lean because they ate these foods once. They eat them every single day, year after year. Consistency is the mechanism. Mistake 2, boiling your matcha or miso. Both of these foods are destroyed by boiling water. Pour boiling water on matcha and you denature up to 60% of the EGCG. Drop your miso paste into a rolling boil and you kill the probiotics entirely. The rule is simple: 175 degrees Fahrenheit for matcha, and always add miso after removing the pot from heat. Mistake 3, buying supplements instead of whole foods. I see this constantly. People buy natto kinase capsules instead of eating natto, matcha extract pills instead of drinking matcha. You lose the fiber, the synergistic compounds, the prebiotic matrix, and the gut bacteria themselves. A natto kinase supplement gives you 1 enzyme. Actual natto gives you the enzyme, plus Bacillus subtilis, plus isoflavones, plus soluble fiber, plus vitamin K2. Whole foods deliver the entire package. Supplements give you a photocopy of one page. Mistake 4, expecting the scale to tell the whole story. If you start this protocol and your waist shrinks by an inch, but the scale hasn't budged, you are succeeding. You're losing visceral fat and potentially gaining lean tissue. Measure your waist circumference weekly. It's a far more accurate indicator of metabolic health than your weight. Here's what I want you to take away from everything we've discussed today. Gaining weight as you age is not inevitable. Metabolic decline is not hardwired into your DNA. The Japanese don't have some genetic lottery ticket that makes them lean. When Japanese people move to Western countries and adopt Western diets, their obesity rates rise to match their new neighbors within 1 generation. The people who maintain a healthy metabolism into their 60s, 70s, and beyond aren't doing anything extreme. They're consistently feeding their bodies foods that support the biological systems designed to keep them lean. A diverse gut microbiome, active brown adipose tissue, low systemic inflammation, and stable blood sugar. Every one of those systems exists inside your body right now. They're not broken, they're just waiting for the right signals. And those signals come from your plate, not from a pharmacy, not from a fad diet, not from willpower alone. You can start sending those signals today. Let's lock in everything we covered. 1. Japan's 4.5% obesity rate is driven by diet composition, not genetics or calorie restriction. A global study of 132 countries confirmed that adherence to the traditional Japanese diet score inversely predicts obesity. 2. Natto, fermented soybeans, reshapes your gut microbiome by increasing Bacteroidetes to Firmicutes ratio, reduces visceral fat in a dose-dependent manner, and suppresses liver fat synthesis. Eat 50 grams daily. 3. Matcha green tea delivers concentrated EGCG that activates brown adipose tissue through UCP1 upregulation, increasing energy expenditure by up to 4% and shifting your body from carbohydrate burning to fat burning. Drink 1 to 2 teaspoons daily at 175 degrees Fahrenheit with lemon. No dairy milk. 4. Miso soup provides both probiotics and prebiotics in one serving. Use unpasteurized miso dissolved in warm, not boiling, broth. 1 bowl daily. 5. Seaweed contains fucoxanthin, which targets visceral fat by converting white fat cells toward a brown fat phenotype. Eat 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame 3 to 4 times weekly. 6. Fatty fish 3 times per week provides omega-3s that sustain brown fat activity and lower inflammation. 7. Fermented pickles and barley rice blends further diversify your gut microbiome and increase butyrate-producing bacteria. 8. Use the Ichiju